What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one, and tonight I'm joined by the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, the ever controversial to Dolphins Twitter at least, Omar Kelly. Thank you for joining me tonight, Omar. How are you doing?
It's so weird that people think I'm controversial. I'm not controversial. I'm opinionated, and people get in their feelings based on my opinions. But the puzzling. Let me clear something up. And people have this perception that I say things on Twitter just to stir it up.
Mm-hmm.
I get enough attention without stirring it up. Why would I want to intentionally stir it up? If I say something on Twitter, generally that's my opinion, and yeah, I talk about random stuff all the time, but I've been doing that for 10 years, so like, why would I change?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, one of the things I respect the most about you is your honesty and straightforwardness, and it's I've had this conflict with a portion of the fan base since I started doing this last March 2019. March 2020. Everybody wants sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, and if you don't deliver that, you're negative. You're whatever.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I you know what? I totally understand, because I'm a brash person. I'm very in your face. So I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So
yeah.
I totally understand it. You know what I mean? Everyone just wants pat in the head, be told everything's going to be all right, and life isn't like that.
The job of a fan is to be a fanatic and to absolutely live and die on the organization. But I'll just share a brief story with you. I got into this field primarily because I saw the power of journalism, and I saw the impact that it had on communities. And then I still had a love for sports. But I wanted to be the sports writer, like the sports writer I felt like I needed when I was in 8th grade computer class, writing up trades and studying contracts and studying the back of basketball cards. I wanted to be that reporter where I don't want you to sugarcoat it. I want you to tell me the truth about my team, my organization. If they're full of shit, they're full of shit. If they're clueless, they're clueless. If my quarterback is a dud, my quarterback is a dud. I don't want you to tell me what I want to hear. And unfortunately, I think a good, strong 45 to 50% of Dolphin fan base, they just want you to sugarcoat it and tell them sweet nothings and shake your pom-poms and tell them that, everything's going to be fine. Tua's going to be a Pro Bowler. Everything, Xavier Howard is going to be a Dolphin forever. And that's just not my, that's not my approach. I like people who give it to me straight in every aspect of my life. Like, there's nothing, a doctor, just give it to me straight. If you say, do you want the good news or you want the bad news? I say, give me the bad first. I'm a bad first kind of guy. Because I want to know what I got to deal with, so that I can overcome it, stomach it, and then you can tell me the good news.
Yeah, hey, I mean, how can someone not respect that, right? Like I said, straightforward, honest. I mean, that's why I respect you. So, plus your reporting's pretty good too. You, Cam Wolf, Joe Shad, and Barry Jackson are the guys that I follow and hold in the highest esteem when it comes to the South Floridian media, as some people call it.
I've never heard it called that, but yeah, pretty cool.
But okay, let's hop right into it. Let's go back a few months. I know you really wanted Najee Harris. And I hate to open up fresh wounds.
I just got over that.
Yeah, one of my moderators was a huge Najee guy too, and he's still not over it. Every time he sees Najee in a Pittsburgh colors, he cries. So I get it. But overall, what was your general takeaway from the draft? Would you say, even though they didn't really address the running game, I mean, they got Jared Dokes in the 7th round, but would you say they did a pretty good job overall, in your opinion?
Here's how I look at the draft. Here's how I evaluate it and break it down. They went into the draft with glaring needs that whether they acknowledged those needs or wanted to or didn't, they needed a center. They needed a pass rusher. They needed a game-changing wide receiver. They didn't really need a safety. Let's be real about that. They did not need a safety. They did not need a tight end. They needed a running back. So I said spacer receiver, center, running back, pass rusher. Those were the center, running back, pass rusher. Those are the 4 glaring needs. And they addressed the spacer with Jalen Waddle, a player that they clearly were obsessed with for 2 years. They had their pick of the Alabama receiver. They clearly wanted Waddle. And people in the NFL have talked about that. Traded down, got a future first-round pick, gave up a future first-round pick to get Waddle, to get the same guy that they probably would have taken at 3. Jalen Phillips. Like him. He's on my man crush list. For those who don't know, I do an annual man crush list of the guys that I would bang the table for. Guys that I want on my team. Not the Dolphins, but my team. I like Jalen Phillips. Only concern that I have is that I don't know if I would have, while I think he's a first-round talent, the medical concern would have made me drop him into a priority pick in the 2nd round. Just because there's too much mystery associated. You don't draft injury-prone players and then expect them to be healthy throughout their career. Devontae Parker is your perfect example. But love the pick. Totally understand why he was selected in the 1st round. Totally understand why he was the first pass rusher, because I graded him when I graded my pass rushers as the number 1 pass rusher in the draft. So I get it. And then what I do like about this draft is they went out and got their number 1 receiver. Well, number 2 receiver, because there's no way that they had Chase, Waddle ahead of Chase. Number 2 receiver, the receiver that they wanted. The number 1 defensive end, because they took the first pass rusher. They took the first safety, so they got the number 1 safety on their board. And then they traded a future 3rd-round pick to jump ahead of a run that saw 7 offensive linemen taken after they selected one. So they went out and they saw somebody at the Senior Bowl. I can't even say his name right. Every time I say it, people correct me.
Liam Eichenberg.
Eichenberg.
Yeah.
They wanted him, coveted him, went and got him, gave up a future 3rd-round pick. That's a conviction. I love when you have a conviction. And then the tight end that they got, Hunter Long, was a guy that certainly fits a mold of what they need. Durham Schmeidt is okay, and he's getting expensive. He's going to become a free agent. Mike Gesicki's getting expensive. You went out and you drafted a tight end who can do both. He can pass catch and he can run block and pass protect. And so that's important. So overall, I thought they hit a home run with the draft. Now they've got more resources than everybody else, so clearly they need to hit a home run in the draft. But I like it. I just don't feel comfortable. Whenever I go into a draft, I say, okay, who are the Pro Bowl talents in this draft? And Najee Harris is a Pro Bowl talent. He could have eased the load for Tua. They didn't make that selection. I understand completely why they didn't make that selection. A defensive end, he's an outside linebacker now. But Jalen Phillips is more of a priority than Najee Harris. But I would have still went Najee Harris. I think Najee Harris would have been the perfect piece to complete the Miami Dolphins offense. Not improve the running game, but complete the offense to the point where there is no weakness. There is not one. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not a fan of Myles Gaskin. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in his productivity. Myles Gaskin was one of the top productive players per game in terms of yardage in the NFL last year. It's 90 yards per game. And I do believe that he can still be and continue to be productive. And if he can stay healthy, I do believe that he can be one of the top backs, top offensive weapons in the NFL.
All right, let's break down a couple things you said there. Let's start off with Jalen Phillips. Now, I did every year, I identify our 5 biggest needs, and I do big boards, and I drop all 22 attached to each player. I give prospect evaluations and stuff. I played quarterback in high school, and I played quarterback in college up here in Canada. And so, I've always been kind of a little bit of a film buff. Anyways, if Jalen Phillips stays healthy and gets past his concussion issues, which I mean, that's a lot. Concussions, head injuries are something that never really goes away. How confident are you that he can be an impact player from day one in this offense? I mean, I had him as my edge 2 only because of the injuries. I had Azeez Ojulari as my number 1, and I didn't know that in the combine checkup, Azeez Ojulari had the bad knee and the bad ankle, and then I would have probably bumped Jalen back up to 1. But how confident are you from day one that he's going to be an impact player for this defense?
I think it's probably going to be a season of learning how to play that position because he's not playing a simple position. He's an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. He's going to have to do everything. Set the edge, hand in the dirt, fill gaps, drop back into coverage. That's a lot. And I know he played a similar role at UCLA, but I think he can be a productive player. The one thing I like about Brian Flores is that he gives rookies small roles, you get a plate and he puts just enough on that plate for you to eat and be full. And if you can master that plate, then they'll put more on the plate. And I think we'll see Jalen Phillips in a limited, specific role for him to be a pass rusher, maybe an edge setter and pass rusher. And then when he masters that, they'll put a little bit more on his plate. But I think he will be a very productive player. Am I going to sit here and say he's the next Jason Taylor, Cameron Wake? No, I'm not. But I think he can have a very productive season, at least contribute just as much as Shaq Lawson did.
Looking back, they kind of overpaid to move up to get Liam Eichenberg at 42, gave up the 50th and a third next year. As you stated, that shows the conviction.
Hold on. You say overpaid.
I do think they overpaid for him. Yes.
He's the starting right tackle, gives you 17 games. And I would argue to you that Eichenberg is probably the most important newcomer on the team. And here's the reason why I'll make that argument to you. He's going to play conservatively, if he's a starting right tackle, 1,200 snaps conservatively. That's not he's a role player. No, this is playing every damn snap. And he's protecting the blind side of Tua Tagovailoa, who's your starting quarterback. Tua's blind side is not properly protected. He could potentially get hurt. We know what happens when he potentially gets hurt. Jacoby Brissett is now our starting quarterback. In my mind, it's not Waddle. It's not Jalen Phillips. It's not the wide receiver. Geez, Lord, I'm out of practice. The name got Will Fuller. To me, Eichenberg, if he's the starting right tackle, he's the most important newcomer on the team. So if you felt like giving up a future first-round pick, if you're giving up a future third-round pick was worth you getting a starting right tackle for the next 5 years. No, not 5 years, 4 years. Okay.
This is why I say I think they overpaid. One of the positions I've studied the last 2 years, obviously because of our needs, has been the tackle position. I think Tevin Jenkins is better, and he's a natural right tackle. Eichenberg's going to have to make the shift from left to right. And, I do have a podcast with Richmond Webb as well. I've talked about with Richmond multiple times. You basically got to learn. You got to go on your kick slide. You got to do everything with the other side right now. You had Tevin Jenkins at 36, and this is what I was going to say to you. Do you think Penei Sewell, who I think is very, very last year, October 2019, on the record, I was out there saying Tristan Wirfs is the best tackle in this draft class. We all know how that worked out. I feel Penei Sewell is going to be better than Tristan Wirfs. And I wanted to ask you, do you think Penei Sewell at 6 would have maybe been the better move because you wouldn't have had to give up that extra. You could have stayed at 50. You could have got Creed Humphrey, and you got Penei Sewell at 6. Or do you think it's a matter of they just valued Jalen Waddle so highly, like the Jaguars did, like we saw when their board was revealed, they had the same grade on Jalen Waddle as they did with Trevor Lawrence, did the Jaguars. Do you think they just valued, Jalen Waddle way too much? Because at the end of the day, from what we're understanding, I mean, you'd know better than me because you have had your boots on the ground at minicamp. They drafted and again, Jalen Waddle was my number 1 receiver on my big board. So I love the kid, but you drafted a slot guy that you essentially gave up 2 first-round picks to make that pick. Do you think Penei Sewell would have been maybe the better move at 6, since you rarely does the top tackle in the class ever fall that far? Do you think that probably would have been a bit of a smarter move to make Penei, and who's, because of Taylor Decker in Detroit, Dan Campbell and company have already come out and said Penei Sewell is going to be starting at right tackle anyways? Or do you think just Jalen Waddle was just way too salivating of a choice for the Dolphins to pass up?
Loaded question. As the offensive line lover in me would love to say yes. But I will say this. There are Penei Sewells in every single draft, multiple ones. And not only that, but you will have the opportunity, maybe you get 8 shots in every draft to find yourself the offensive lineman that can complete your offensive line. Now, with that said, the Dolphins have put more resources into their offensive line than any other position in the franchise, and it's still shit. So it's, and I hammer them every single year about how it's still shit and how they need to continue to put more resources. And maybe it's a talent evaluation, maybe it's a coaching problem, maybe it's a scheme problem. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm fine with what they did from this standpoint. Mm-hmm. Jalen Waddle, when you look at him on film, and I swear to God, I've watched more Alabama. I've watched every single Alabama game going back to Tua's freshman year. It's just nonstop. I've watched Alabama to the point where now I feel like I completely understand the RPO. Jalen Waddle plays at a speed that I've never seen before. And, he was on the field with 4 other first-round wide receivers, and he's the fastest moving guy on the field. It's not even close. And that includes Ruggs, who was drafted the first receiver. And I think that injecting that threat into an opposing offensive coordinator to keep him up at night, and it's funny, I'm going to quote Todd. He's the reason I'm on here, and I talk to Todd quite often. And Todd is a big Waddle guy, and Todd puts it in comparisons to a boxing match. While Judy will take you 12 rounds and he'll probably beat you on the scorecard, and finest route runner, not just Judy, Devonta Smith, but and you could put him, you could either or, because they're the same thing.
Yep.
Excellent route runners, unbelievable hands, crisp in what they do. Both will be phenomenal wide receivers. They are both going to take you 12 rounds. Phenomenal fighter. Judy's Mike Tyson. All it takes is one punch. He's going to knock you out at some point, and there's nothing that you can do about it. You're going to spend your whole fight trying to avoid that punch. And I look at it from a defensive coordinator standpoint. They're not worried about fighting Oscar De La Hoya and Oscar De La Hoya knocking them out. They're technically sound, or maybe I'm going to do southpaw. I got it. what are we going to do if he does this, if he does that? Okay, that's for all the other receivers. With Judy, if Tua's arm is good,
Waddle.
With Waddle,
yeah.
If Tua's arm is good, if they can connect on the deep ball, he can knock you the bleep out.
Yeah.
On one punch.
Mm-hmm.
And that punch, you're gonna be worried about that punch for 4 quarters.
Agreed. I think he's almost as good of a route. He's not there yet, but I think he's almost as good of a route runner as those guys too. He's a very good route runner. He's a very good route runner. And the twitch when he stems his routes, he's got very good twitch, and he'll stack you in the blink of an eye. You know what I mean? I think, you know, and the other thing, you know, Flores has talked about it too. It's going to keep defenders out of the box.
Yeah,
right.
And that's exactly why they had to do what they did, because I think that they went into it thinking about the mistakes that they made last offseason. And I'll bring it up because the Dolphin fans were all in their feelings about last year's training camp. The first thing I said after watching the first practice is, your receivers aren't good enough. They're not going to be good enough. They're going to be a problem.
Boy, were you right.
It's gonna jack up your entire season. And I wrote it first day of training camp. I wrote it week 3 of training camp. I wrote it before the season started. And ultimately, I was right. And not bragging, but I think in their mind, and they tried to address it too. They traded for Lindbaum Jr. They signed a bunch of veterans. You know, Malcolm Perry was supposed to be a running back. He was moved to wide receiver. They did things to try to address it, but clearly they realized we did not have enough. No matter what injuries happened, we did not have enough. It was not good enough. And they overcompensated this offseason. And truthfully speaking, their reason for overcompensating was, Flores said, and I think that's the most important thing Flores said after the draft. Like, how do you, as from a defensive coordinator standpoint, you heard his mind and his thought process. How do you defend us? Will Fuller on one side, Jalen Waddle on the other side. Safety's gone.
Yeah.
So now I got 7-man in the box. I'm good.
Yeah.
Running back has to make one guy miss.
Yep. And
if he's right, they might have something special. If he's wrong, well, it's another Dolphin season.
Yeah. And it kind of helps with what we're talking about with the offensive line, right? Now you can get more 5-on-5, 5-on-4 matchups as opposed to them.
I'm not talking them up till. I was very disappointed in what I saw from that unit last year, and there's nothing that's going to change my mind outside of, and everybody says, oh, the young guys got to get better and improve. And I'm like, they're all average. If you want an average line, go for it. I don't want an average line, and that's an average line.
I'm just happy. When we drafted him, I was banging the table. Robert Hunt is a guard. He's not a tackle.
Yeah.
It might have taken about 370 some odd days for them to realize that, but I'm glad they realized it. Better late than never, as far as I'm concerned, right? So, you know, and you know,
he was okay. He was okay.
He was okay. He was into his lap a ton though, and you know, I broke down the all-22 every Tua drop back last year. You know, Jackson giving up on reps, you know, just watching the guy. You know, one of the things I said about him, he was my OT 10 coming out of USC. And I said, you go across this guy's face, you're going to make a living. We get to Denver. Bradley Chubb says, oh, okay, I'll just go across his face all game. And he made a living. And Austin Jackson's got great athleticism, but that guy needs to hit the weight room ASAP. And until I see it with, you know, I said it before, I'll say it again. At USC, I saw a guy, he looked like Tarzan, he played like Jane. And in training camp last year, when he had that rep where he ripped off Raekwon Davis's jersey, I was kind of like, oh my God, maybe he found the mean streak. Then the season happened, and I was like, well, that was a falsehood. But
I thought he played well before the knee injury.
Before the injury, he played the better ball than I saw at USC too. I will give him that much.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he played. He was probably the guy who played the best outside of the knee injury. I'm a Jesse Davis fan, so people feel however they want to feel about Jesse Davis, and I will make the argument to you. Name the game where Jesse Davis has let you down.
You know what? People have a short memory because when they had him at left tackle last year, he was actually very good.
And that's my argument all the time. Tell me what you've asked him to do and tell me when he struggled. Because you've asked him to do everything but play center, and he's never struggled. So put some respect on his name. And I will fight that to the death. When Jesse Davis, offensive line, when we were in the locker room, that's my area. I've been in that area for 14 years. That's home for me. And that's where I feel the most comfortable, even though I'm probably most welcome in the cornerback area. So I've known Jesse Davis since he was a practice squad player. And I've advocated for him watching his practice since he was nobody on the roster. Back when he was practicing in the he really got his call up when they did joint practices with Eagles. And I was like, Gase, he needs to start. Like, you clearly see he's a top performer. And so he started whatever games, and now he's in the mix and he's the backup. And I don't know if he's all the way healthy. He's got knee issues but I say this to all the Jesse Davis critics who sit and think that just because a rookie is better, aka rookie is younger, aka Solomon Kinley, that they're better. Solomon sucked last year, and he was John Jerry 2.0, and I don't get what. Clearly, if you say that Solomon played well, I say you don't know anything about line play, nor do you watch it. And so, everybody has Jesse Davis out of the starting lineup, and I don't know if he's really healthy right now, or hopefully he's healthy. But I'm sorry, an offensive line without Jesse Davis is just going to be mediocre to me.
Yeah, last year I would have kept him at right tackle and just put Hunt inside. I think you would have got a better result on the right side.
You probably damn sure would have.
What do you think about the upgrade? I call it an upgrade, and I use that term loosely, of Matt Skura over Ted Karras. I'm just, I'm not a fan of what they've done. I feel like, as I believe it to be, that center is your quarterback of your offensive line. That's your main communicator. That's the guy that before he snaps the ball, he's at the disadvantage out of all the guys. He's got to snap the ball, and when he snaps it, defensive linemen are coming at him, and then he's got to get up and get into his set. You know what I mean?
He's usually not head up with anybody unless, I don't know why they don't play that way, because I certainly would use Raekwon Davis head up on the center, just snap the ball, just blow him off the line. But yeah, most of the time these centers are just helping. But yeah, I think centers play crap since Mike Pouncey.
Yeah. So I mean, I just, you saw Tua. He had the second highest evading pressure rate last year. It got to a point where he was almost bailing by the end of the season. You could tell wasn't really trusting the protection.
Yeah,
it was leaky. I mean, it was leaky.
I hate those analytics, and I hate. This is my thing about analytics. The mathematicians are trying to take over football, and they'll give you something like, second highest rate of pressure in the pocket, because it's a subjective stat. It's just a subjective stat that you can't quantifiably. Analytics that have value to me are yards after the catch, yards after contact, drops, third down percentage rate, run pass on third down, efficiency in the red zone. I like numbers. I really gravitate to numbers early on in my career, and then somebody taught me something, primarily about Pro Football Focus. He's now an executive. He's been an executive, but he's now an executive in an organization. And I remember vividly, I was at Brandon Marshall's 4th of July barbecue, and we were talking about something, and I was and then he was just like, listen, you got to stop with all this Pro Football Focus stuff and these grades. And he explained it to me. He's like, all this analytics is just fool's gold. Most of the time is a great, and he used this perfect example. And at this time, Vince Wilfork was still playing in the NFL. And he said, Samson Sattelli. This is who the Miami Dolphins center was.
Yeah, I remember.
Samson Sattelli blocks Vince Wilfork one-on-one, and it's a stalemate. How does Pro Football Focus grade it? And they probably graded it as a stalemate. Okay. Is a stalemate against Vince Wilfork one-on-one a win or a loss?
A win.
So it's a dominant win.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Samson Sattelli. So if that's so subjective, and Aaron Donald, if Robert Hunt blocks Aaron Donald one-on-one 40 of 60 snaps, is that a victory and it's a stalemate? Is that a win or stalemate or loss?
You're asking me 40 out of 60 snaps?
Yeah.
So he had 20 that he lost the rep?
No. I said it's 20, 20 that Aaron Donald did what Aaron Donald does.
I was told by an offensive lineman, if you lose 1 or 2 reps, you've lost.
You could certainly. Joey Porter put it to me like this, and this is mind changing. One day, Joey Porter was saying to me, "Man," and this is why I miss being in the locker room. He's like, "All I need is 5 wins. 5 wins a game. I get 5 wins a game, I'm headed to the Pro Bowl." And he's right. He's absolutely right. Those are 5 plays out of 50 where he changes the course of a drive.
Yep. So,
yeah, he's right. So an offensive lineman can sit there and say, yeah, and this is where I have respect for Jesse Davis. So I can walk into the locker room after in a game the next Monday after Jesse Davis has given up a sack or a big pressure. And all I got to say is, Jesse, what happened? He'll tell me the exact play, exactly what happened. I took a false step. He really fooled me with his counter. He'd been hitting me with it all game. And then he did a swim move. And Jesse knows. Half of the time, these guys don't know. Yeah. And so, I don't even know how we got back to Jesse Davis. But getting back to Joey Porter, yeah, you're right. If an offensive lineman has 2 bad snaps, they had a horrible game. But that's kind of out of context. Now, if you're mauling them and you get 140 on the run game, then you probably doing the damn, you winning.
Yeah.
But you give up a sack and you give up a pressure, everybody probably walks away. You suck.
Yeah.
It's a very thankless position, but I love trench play. That's where all the action is for me. And anybody who knows me knows that.
So I actually share your outlook on PFF. I did some work for them about a year and a half ago. And first of all, they sent me broadcast footage, not even all 22. And I'm like, what is this nonsense? I have the all 22 of this. And it was the LSU Clemson game. And I was just, I totally agree with you, because I've said, listen, first of all, a lot of them are volunteers. Okay. Mm-hmm. Second of all, what if it's a Bills fan sitting there grading a Dolphins game? This objectivity is going to get thrown out the window. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. You know what I mean? I agree with you.
They've become so big now, partly because the NFL is backing it and the wide receiver owns it, and there's no competition for them. But it's all bullshit. Yeah. It's all bullshit. But fans use it as the gospel, and I'm to blame, because every Tuesday I used to come out there and give you the Pro Football Focus grades, and then I would never ever cite Pro Football Focus grades. Now, I know better. Richie Incognito used to get on me about that shit. Richie used to be all in my butt cheeks about Pro Football Focus and how they don't know shit and how they don't know what they're doing. And they're like, and this is when he was a Pro Bowler, and they'd have him like ranked the 120th guard. And yeah, you know, say what you want about Richie. You know, let's hope he continues to play football, because I'm scared of what happens if he stops playing football. But Richie's a pretty goddamn good offensive lineman
he's
in
fantastic.
the NFL.
Too bad. I'm going to say, I'll be the one that says it. Too bad we had a softie on our team, because he went to Buffalo and he made us pay. So I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, Richie had his own problems. Richie's not okay. Everybody knows Richie's not okay, but Richie needs football. And I have a special place in my heart for Richie, because I know so many guys like that, and just he's in pain.
Yeah.
And the only way he can not be in pain is to make other people feel pain, which, you know.
All right, I got to ask you this, because everyone and their mother wants me to ask you this. Jalen Waddle's limp.
Okay.
You also, but see, people forget context. You also mentioned in the same breath that his ankle was clearly taped. Yeah. From what you understand, should he be 100% for training camp? And do you think he was pushing it? And do you think he should have been rested to potentially finish healing up instead of being out there? Because we all know he came back way too early for that national championship. If you go by, because I believe he had tightrope surgery too in that ankle in Alabama?
I have no idea.
I think he did. And what I heard was he shouldn't have been back till at least February, March, starting football activities. Do you think he's going to be, because you also said when he runs, he runs. Yeah, he runs. So do you think he's going to be 100% for training camp or the regular season?
I would not have known I honestly, even when he was selected, name the media member that talked about his injury. There wasn't any.
Yeah.
The man didn't even participate in a pro day.
Yeah.
We don't have a 40 time on him. He hasn't worked out. He hasn't run an L drill. Neither did Devontae. Hasn't caught a pass before he got drafted in the first round. I didn't even factor in that he was hurt. I'm watching practice, fast as hell. Didn't even factor in that he was hurt till you see him walking and limping. And I'm like, and I'm not, again, what I hate is the fact that I said it, Joe Rose said it, Adam Beasley said it, other media members said it, other media members pointed out, hey, this guy's limping. But it becomes some big thing that I said it. Yeah, he's limping, but he's fast. He's fast when he's running, but when he stops running, he's limping. And it's not a pimp strut. It's not a full walk. Like I've covered the league for 14 years. I've covered football for 20 years. I know the difference. His ankle, I swear to God, people don't realize his ankle is like taped up to here. So, like, now, is it going to impact his play? Probably not. But if he's limping, not all the way healed, and he's that fast, I'm like, damn, how fast is this dude for real? Like, and I don't know, like, when I watched him practice, I kept trying to look and see what is the injury limiting him from doing. Like, is it lateral speed? Does he have straight line speed? Can he shift, stop on a dime, and turn directions? Is it impacting his quickness? Yeah. And couldn't tell anything because he's just fast. But then he stops running and he's limping. And I'm like, okay, this is, maybe it's the ankle that's taped super tight. I have no idea. None. People understand we don't get access to the team like we used to now because of COVID. So I couldn't tell you the next time I'll ever talk to Jalen Waddle. Unless he's training down here and I go hunt him down, and I'm not interested in doing all that bull crap. People got to understand. Half the time, the team has warned them about us, and particularly me. So if I see a rookie, then the rookie's running from me. I'm not doing all that. We know where Tua's training, and Tua sees one of us. Tua's running. I'm too old for that stuff now. But is he fast? Yeah, he's fast. I said that right after I said he's limping. But was he limping? Yeah. Do I hope that he continues to limp? No. Obviously, to practice in the offense, and understand they weren't really practicing. There was no OTAs, there was no helmets, so you're not practicing. You're just doing walkthroughs, daily walkthroughs. So was he looking good in walkthroughs? Yeah, but there's a whole lot left for the activity. When pads come on, we'll see. We'll see.
What are your thoughts on Albert Wilson? Personally, I'm expecting a huge season from him due to reports saying he'll also get boundary reps, not just the slot. I've become.
What did you say?
What are your thoughts on Albert Wilson?
No. Reports that what?
That Barry Jackson reported that he's going to actually be getting reps on the boundary this year, not just the slot. Wow. I've made friends with Tua's trainer, Nick Hicks, also another trainer there, Sebastian Alvarez. And, he's not a perform athlete, but they keep going on about how smart he is, how great, we already know how great of a route runner he is. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your expectations, and what are your thoughts?
He's a great route runner.
I think he's a fantastic route runner. What are your thoughts on what do you expect from him this season?
I noticed his speed is back. His speed is back. That's all I can tell you. I don't know if he's going to make this roster. I don't know if he's going to make the team right now. If he's a slot receiver, he's probably the third slot receiver behind Waddle and Lynn Bowden Jr. So I couldn't tell you. I think it'll be dictated based on practice performances. I think a lot of those guys, who's going to be very fortunate and lucky? The guy that Jacoby Brissett learns to lean on. Because a guy like Jacoby Brissett learns to lean on is going to get a lot of opportunity, and that guy's going to safely make it onto the 53-man roster. And whether that's Albert Wilson, or whether that's Lynn Bowden Jr., or whether that's Malcolm Perry or Preston Williams, I couldn't tell you who it's going to be, because there's a ton of talent at receiver, just a ton. And they've learned from their mistakes. Receivers by far the deepest position on the roster. And I would argue to it that this is probably the deepest wide receiving unit that the Dolphins franchise has had in at least 20 years, if not ever, from a talent standpoint. When you're talking about Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, and then you pick your fifth guy. That's pretty good.
You think Jakeem Grant makes the team?
Depends on how they value the return specialist role. And depends on how people sleep on Mac Hollins too. Understand Mac Hollins is your best gunner. He's one hell of a gunner.
Yep.
And do I value a gunner over a return specialist? That would be a real heavy debate for me, because a gunner impacts you on every special teams play. A return specialist, what do we get out of Jakeem? Probably 12 scary returns a year
at least.
Yeah, I mean,
hold on, are we talking about scary in terms of the other team, or scary when the ball's in the air and my heart's stopping because I don't know whether he's going to wave off the fair catch? Okay, yeah, 12 might be a little bit high, but yeah, you're around. We had ballpark that, I guess.
Yeah,
I thought scary for me. I was like, yeah, I get about 12 for me. Yeah,
I was being generous. I'm at the point where, and this goes back to the Jakeem beef with me. We haven't talked in years, nor do I have any interest in talking to him. From his rookie year, he struggles to catch the ball. I learned about football and positions from covering the University of Miami, and the University of Miami had a receiving coach, Curtis Johnson, who you named the legends, he coached them at UM. Sonoris Moss, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, you name it, he coached them. And he's coaches New Orleans wide receivers, and the New Orleans wide receivers, they're no joke and have never been a joke. And he tells me, you know what the number one job of a wide receiver is? To catch the damn ball. If you cannot do the number one job, you are not a receiver. And if I have to have a doubt in my mind that, hey, he might not catch that ball, I don't want him on my team. And I've always had that in my back of my mind with Jakeem. Like, I'm good. I'll find somebody else to do what he does, because just the reliability is just not there.
Do you see Noah getting that chance, or do you think they're going to lean on Jalen Waddle?
I don't know what they're going to do. You could lean on Albert Wilson. You can lean on Lynn Bowden Jr. You can lean on Malcolm Perry if he makes the team. They've got tons of options. I really do, and Jakeem, props to him because he's the best returner in franchise history statistically. My issue is he a top 5 wide receiver? And I would argue to you that he's not better than Lynn Bowden Jr. He's not better than Mac Hollins. He's not better than Albert Wilson. He's not better than the kid from Carroll City. Give me a second. He's not better than Alan Hearns. Might be better than Malcolm Perry. But that's a long list of people that, they're better than you.
Yeah. All right. So you're like me in terms of you're clearly concerned about the offensive line. Like I keep hammering it. You know what I mean? Everyone keeps talking about Tua. I say we worry about the offensive line just as much as if you want to worry about Tua. So do you think Tua's progression, or at least let me put it better, do you think an aspect to his progression hinders on that offensive line clicking? And, I keep saying with players like Kinley, Hunt, and Jackson, you need them to take a significant second year keyword equal leap. While you got Skura, who you hope finds his 2018 form, and Liam Eichenberg, as good as a technician he is, you got to hope he limits his rookie mistakes and learning curve. Do you think
Hey, you just left off my guy Jesse Davis. Jesse Davis is just top liver. I love when people do that.
Oh, hey, I'm assuming that Kinley's gonna win the job, even though reports are Davis is in the lead, I guess, from what guys like Barry Jackson and such are reporting. But okay, let's throw Jesse Davis in there too if he finds a spot. Do you think Tua's progression hinders on that offensive line more than people are giving it credit for?
I would love to tell you yes, but I'm going to say no. Even though I'm obsessed with offensive line, I love offensive line play. I think they were mediocre last year and Tua was fine from a pressure standpoint. And yeah, I know you told me analytics, pressure, and moments and time.
No. See, I gave you the number, but I was actually going to follow that up before we got into the PFF stuff. I broke down every single snap Tua had last year after every game. You would see him bail. Like, one of the strengths you saw at Bam, I'm sure, when you watch his ability to climb the pocket. Well, by the end of the year, instead of climbing, he was bailing instinctively much more.
Now, was he bailing because he didn't get his initial read and he needed to buy time, or was he bailing because there was pressure?
You could make the argument for a little bit of both, but Robert Hunt was consistently in his lap. Jackson was consistently in his lap. See, I don't know what PFF was watching, and this is one thing they were loving Ted Karras last year, and I continuously saw leaks come up the middle. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was a mixture of both, too, to be honest with you. But
I think I am, and understand this is coming from somebody who is obsessed with offensive line play.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason and the value of Tua is Tua has pocket presence. Tua has the feel. The one criticism that I've had about Ryan Tannehill, and I will probably have it till the day that I leave this earth, is that Ryan Tannehill has absolutely no feel for the pocket. He cannot feel pressure. It's just like, it's, and for those of us who grew up Dolphin fans and watched Dan Marino, you saw what Dan did in that pocket, even when he was on one leg. It was magic. It was, you give it a chef's kiss. Tannehill will never have any of that. He will need the biggest and best offensive line in his career to be the quarterback that he is. And props to him for what he's done and turned it around. I find ESPN's ranking of quarterbacks a twinge disrespectful because they put Herbert over Tannehill, and Herbert ain't done shit. Okay, let's put that over there. Tua's pocket presence is magnificent. It's there. You could watch practice, and I watched it from very early on. He's got the feel. Now, what he was doing last year, in my opinion, was what I'm looking for is not there. I need to buy time. It was, I'm struggling to read the defense. I can't. My man is not as open as I'm used to seeing him open at Alabama. I need to buy time. Oh my God, that window is so tight. I can't throw that. I need to check down. And, I'm so glad NFL Network caught the conversation that Fitz had with him on the sideline, where Fitz had to explain to him, hey man, this ain't college.
Yeah.
That Devontae is open. If Devontae's on his cornerback's hip, Devontae's open. Throw it to him at a spot where only he can catch it. Tua does not do that, does not have the confidence to do that, does not have the chemistry to do that, and just wouldn't do it. And Fitz was telling them, you got to do it. Devontae's telling him, you got to do it. He didn't, that wasn't where he was. And I know he was heavily critical of himself. And I felt bad about how much he criticized himself, because he really took himself to the woodshed and flogged himself for a 6-3 record as a starter, even really 5-3, because Fitz came out and won that Raiders game, and a 10-win season for a rebuilding franchise. He just obliterated himself and opened himself up can of worms. I didn't know the offense. I got to do better. This is all on me. Yes, I had enough talent at receiver, which was a lie. But these are the things that he has to say in order to be the person that he is and the presence that he is and the leader that he is. But I felt like he did himself a disservice, because he's sitting up here and he's comparing himself to a 16-year veteran who, I would argue to you, reads defenses quicker and better than everybody in the NFL with the exception of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and maybe Russell Wilson. That's who Fitz is. Perfect Wonderlink score, Harvard graduate, 16-year veteran, knows Chan Gailey's offense better than Chan Gailey knows Chan Gailey's offense.
Yep.
Can call his own plays at the line of scrimmage and does so. So Tua's sitting here comparing himself. Hold on one second. Tua's sitting here. I'm about to lose some power, so I'm about to. I got to plug myself in.
No worries.
Tua is doing himself a disservice by comparing himself to Ryan Fitzpatrick. And while a lot of people, particularly Dolphin fans, the ignorant ones, and I will say ignorant, can't put respect on Ryan Fitzpatrick's name. This is a different, you saw for the last 2 years, a different Ryan Fitzpatrick than what the NFL has already seen. You didn't get journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick. You got vintage Ryan Fitzpatrick, fine wine, responsible for all 5 of Brian Flores' wins. All of them. He did that. Responsible for 5 of the 10 wins that the Dolphins delivered last year. Fitzpatrick did that. Ryan Fitzpatrick was anointed the starting quarterback of a team that made the playoffs and given a salary as such. So you can disrespect Ryan Fitzpatrick all you want, but I'm never going to do that.
No.
And for Tua to sit here and criticize or hold himself to the standard of Fitzpatrick, that's doing, if he gets to Fitzpatrick's level in year 3, year 4, where Fitzpatrick was in his 2-year tenure, if he gets to that level of execution, performance, diagnostic ability, leadership, pocket presence, like Fitz was a baller here. I think he will be a Pro Bowl talent. Not Fitz, but Tua. If he plays like Fitz did in 2019, 2020, Dolphin fans will be elated. But, we got to get there.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you just spit the gospel right there. You just took us to church and it's Tuesday night. I mean, I
don't know. People can't respect Fitz because of what he's done throughout his career. Like, he's played for 16 years. How many legit opportunities has he ever had? Yeah. Like, he's, for the first time in his career, and that's why it hurt me so bad when they benched him. For the first time in his career, this man's finally got the team to lead to the playoffs for the first time in his career. And then they pull the rug right on him. Rightly so, because at that point, the NFL, like, half the teams weren't even practicing. Remember, people don't realize there was a month where the NFL didn't even practice.
Yep.
And went out and played games because of COVID was getting too bad. So so you had to get to an experience, otherwise it would have been a wasted year. So and once you started, you couldn't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you saw what, anytime Flores needed Fitz, a little bit of Fitz magic, he called on what I call his fling, and and Fitz hooked him up.
That's a lot to unpack there, because I was someone, I had an old co-host, and we were going into the season where we were saying, Fitzpatrick can give you Pro Bowl. It's funny you mentioned that. We said, you go back, the receipts are out there in training camp. Fitzpatrick can give you Pro Bowl like play at the position. We were saying exactly what you're saying, literally quote for quote, put respect on this guy's name, because not enough people were, because they just saw him as some random journeyman. Fact of the matter is, we wouldn't have won 5 games the year before if it wasn't for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was our leading rusher too, on top of all that. And I don't think he should have been. I get why they did made the move to Tua, but Fitz's play did not garner him being pulled, getting the hook. People need to realize that.
And it hurt the team. And it did add to Flores' clout, because, I mean, you cashed in every chip and collateral you had to make that move. and you still won. But everybody on the team knew Fitz was a better quarterback.
Yeah.
And so you're going into every game with the inferior quarterback because this is the guy you need to get experience. Well, you're not necessarily putting the team in the best position to win games.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
it is what it is, and we are where we are, and we're better off for it in 2021. But in my opinion, it costs the team an opportunity to make the playoffs.
I want to get to some more Tua stuff. We got 510 people in the room. Go ahead, hit that like button, guys. It said, "What's up, Reason? What are your and Omar's thoughts on the run game? And if they go up a level, do you see a playoff run?" The floor is yours, Omar, because I know you're passionate about the running back room with no Najee. So,
they have to go up a level because the offensive line is more seasoned. Let's hope they're good. I'm on record. They were average last year. Let's hope to get above average. I think Gaskins has more in the tank than what he's shown. Let's hope he can stay healthy. But these wide receivers, they're clearly gonna occupy and help out the run game because I don't know what Jalen Waddle moves real fast.
Yeah.
And he just runs jet sweeps all the time, and that just takes a defender with him the whole game.
EM Dolphin fan says, "Salute to Mr. Kelly for preaching that gospel. I'm a big fan, sir. Keep bringing that truth." Okay, so back to Tua for a second. Like I said, I have had Nick Hicks on the show. Me and him have developed a friendship over the course of the last couple months and stuff too. Great individual. Everyone knows Tua's trainer. And he said that last year Tua was at about 60% health wise. He stressed people need to realize that just because you're cleared for football does not mean you're at 100%. He brought up points about how when they brought him in for training sessions at the beginning, Tua couldn't stand on one leg because of that hip for an extended period of time. And even went as far as calling Tua a shell of his former self at Alabama. Again, you watched a ton of Tua at Alabama. You watched every snap just like I did. Does Nick's comments make sense with what you saw where Tua was at physically and as a passer last year when you hear his trainer come out and say that? Like in terms of, I remember there was an out route where the ball died before Gesicki. He didn't have the zip he had at Bama. His drive foot wasn't following through as strong before.
I'm being very cautious because a lot of things I say, like the Jalen Waddle limp, gets taken out of context. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I want to do is be viral off a podcast that's not even my podcast. I think was Tua supposed to be on the field in 2020? No. Was he cleared to play? Yes. Mm-hmm. Was playing him the right thing to do for the organization? Yes. Was playing him the right thing to do for Tua? No. Mm-hmm. Will he benefit from an offseason training that goes full body and can strengthen the hip? Yes. Were I concerned a little about his lack of mobility or his ability to run? It was there, but it wasn't what you saw at Alabama. Yes. Do I hope that it improves and he becomes the quarterback that I think he has the potential to be? Yes. Was I concerned about his lack of arm strength and his arm fading at the end of the season? Yes. Am I still concerned about that arm strength? And did I see it in training camp? Yes, I'm still concerned. No, I didn't see it in training camp. So am I certain it's going to come back? No. And it's not, people have to understand, Fitz also had arm issues as well. Mm-hmm. There were points where when he lost the job or it was given to Josh Rosen, he had lost his arm. It just died on him. Fitz doesn't throw in the offseason for a reason. That he's got a just enough arm. And if you pitch and 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 pitch, it wears down. And my concern about Tua is that how hard he's working, how much he's working with his receivers, how much he's throwing in OTAs, that arm wore down. And I'm wondering if this opportunity to rest will perk it back up. And I can't answer any of those questions for you because I have not seen them. While I've seen them in OTAs, which was basically walkthroughs, I have not seen anything live, and I have not seen anything against a good defense. So let's be real cautious about what we project and what we think and what we say and what we've seen, because it's a long training camp, long exhibition season. We'll have many opportunities, including the joint practices, to really get a full understanding of where Tua is, who Tua is, the physicality, the arm strength. And if you ask me what's my biggest worry and concern about Tua, right now it's no longer durability, it's arm strength.
Okay. I got a couple questions for you from the viewers, then I want to get back to this. Who to you is the Miami Dolphins' most important player on offense other than Tua in 2021? Jesse Davis, isn't it?
Jesse Davis definitely in the top 5. Most important player on offense probably going to have to be Myles Gaskin, because if they don't have a run game, Myles Gaskin has to take pressure off Tua. The run game and that's the whole reason I was so big on Najee Harris.
I agree.
Najee Harris immediately takes pressure off Tua. This primarily becomes a running team. Tua can breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would have to say Gaskin.
Omar, and this is, you don't have to answer this like directly. You could give a couple names. Omar, who is the second best Dolphins journalist beat writer in your opinion? I guess he assumes you're the first best.
I love what Barry does. People Barry will nugget you to death. And you know, people people don't know this, but my first job as a journalist, I was an intern for Barry. Back in 1993. So I have a great deal of respect for Barry. While he is not on the Dolphins beat, Barry gives you the minutia that most of us. Barry cleans up.
Yeah.
And he'll nugget you to death.
Yeah.
Like you've quoted Barry on a number of things that Barry isn't supposed to be telling you, but he finds a way to tell you, and people just look the other way. Like, we're not supposed to tell you any of this stuff.
Yeah.
He told you.
I love him. He buried some Mary Jackson.
If I would have said it, I would have been in trouble. I would have gotten in trouble. I get in trouble all the time, and but Barry, it's Barry.
Okay, so the national media, like the Cowards, the Baylesses, they've been extremely harsh on Tua heading into this offseason. When Joe Burrow put up a very similar stat line with about 114 more passing attempts, and he was constantly playing behind, so they had to pass.
I really don't want to talk about what people think and the critics and the comparison to Herbert and like.
I was just gonna ask, why do you think they're so harsh on Tua?
Because talking quarterbacks moves the needles, and it's low hanging fruit. It just is. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sorry, no, and this is just to give you inside baseball. I could write about anything about the Dolphins. Anything you think about it, I could write it. I could write about Bullygate. It will get 1/3 the clicks as anything Tua related.
Yeah.
And so it's just low hanging fruit. And I got the quarterback I wanted. I didn't want Joe Herbert. Props to him for what he's done. I didn't want Joe. Which one? Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I got the quarterback I wanted.
Yeah.
Let me see it through.
All right, last two tidbits here then. QBs usually need at least 3 years for proper evaluation and understanding of what they are and what
proper
they're
development, not proper evaluation, proper
development, and when a grasp of what their ceiling could potentially be in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Do you think it's fair that so much pressure is being put on the second year to perform, or you got the fan base, or we need to move off of them? I mean, this is kind of similar to the Josh Rosen treatment.
You waited 7 years for Ryan Tannehill to show you he's the 16th best quarterback in the NFL. 7 years. I think Tua can get 3. Can we get 3? 7 years on Ryan Tannehill. 7. Can Tua get 3?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be overly critical of what Tua does this season, because this is like his rookie year, even though he played last season.
I agree.
I'm not making excuses for him, and will not make excuses for him, but I expect 2020 to be the year. 2022 to be the year.
Next year.
Yeah. Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Fair.
And you will have had as Tua 25 games of NFL experience going into the 2022 season. Show me you can read a defense and execute the offense.
Yeah, no disagreement for me. So you say 2022 is going to be the year. So what are your expectations for Tua? This is the last question on Tua. What are your expectations for Tua in 2021 then?
Wins. Take team to the playoffs. That's it.
Okay.
Let's say same expectation I have for the whole team. Get to the playoffs, but injuries withstanding. Like Jacoby Brissett is not taking the team to the playoffs.
Oh no, we all know that.
And I'm not saying my standard for Tua is higher than Jacoby Brissett, but and we don't know if the defense is going to be top 6. So but I expect playoffs. We talking to Big O. I do a segment with Big O, and he said something early this week. We haven't seen 3 straight years of forward progress as an organization, and this goes back to probably Don Shula. So maybe Jimmy did it. I'll look. It would be great to have 3 straight years of forward progress. Get to 11 wins. That's my standard. Not to take a step back as an organization. Show me that you're different than what we've done for the last 30 years.
That's almost as good as what I tell people. Name a quarterback in the last 10 years in the AFC East that had a better rookie season than Tua Tagovailoa. You can't name one.
Hold on. Hold on. In the AFC East, you said?
Yeah, in the East. I really narrowed it down, though, didn't I?
How many years?
Last 10 years.
Oh.
I even went back and I looked at Mark Sanchez's numbers. The rookie year, he didn't. And they went to the playoffs.
Tannehill's rookie year numbers. We're talking quarterback rating.
Yeah, just the across the stat line, and not like analytics numbers, like the normal one, like completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, yards.
You got me curious. I'd have to look up Tannehill's numbers, but that's probably your only candidate. Ooh. Yeah, no, we're good.
All right. So the hottest topic besides Tua, obviously right now, is Xavier Howard. What does your gut tell you? Just your gut tell you in regards to the Xavier Howard situation. Will he start the season as a Dolphin, do you think, or will he start the season holding out or on another team?
He's not going to hold out because holding out is too expensive. $50,000 a day. By the time we get to week 3 of training camp, he'll probably be down week 3 of training camp. He'll probably be down $750,000. So yeah, he ain't holding out. He'll be here. He'll be pissed off, and he'll be trying to get out of here.
I'm just gonna say before I ask the next question, I loved me some Rashad Jones. Obviously, the injuries piled up, but one guy wanted to retire a Dolphin. I want X to retire a Dolphin, and as this goes on, it just doesn't look good.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, a lot of the fan base is torn regarding the X situation. But I understand where it's coming from. He had a spectacular season, top 2 at his position, next to only probably Jalen Ramsey. You might be able to make the Marlon Humphrey argument too, but I think X is better than Humphrey because he can play man and zone, whereas Humphrey's mainly a zone guy. And also Flores and Greer have kind of created a culture where if you don't meet expectations, they'll cut bait with you rather quickly. And with not much guaranteed money left on his contract, I can see why X wants more. Do you believe, as a football fan, do you believe X, his request is reasonable?
I will start that answer by saying the guy put on the opposite side of Xavier Howard, who gets all the safety help and shade coverage, while everything is rolled over X's way. I mean, while X is exposed out there naked, covering the best wide receiver. He's made $16 million more than Xavier Howard last year and this year. You don't think I would have a problem with that?
Yeah, that's a renowned yes. I would see it. That answer, yeah. I agree.
It's not a problem Xavier Howard created.
No, I agree with that 110%.
They created the problem.
Yeah, I agree. And they doubled up by drafting Noah at 30 too. Do you think it's a matter of more guaranteed money being paid higher than Byron, or being the top paid corner in the league in terms of average annual salary?
I think the way to fix it would be guaranteed money and incentives.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so he signed a $75.5 million contract, right?
76.1.
Okay, so if you were to guarantee, is it far-fetched to guarantee the rest of his contract? Like, because I'm just saying, if you guarantee the rest of his contract, he would end up with more guaranteed money than Jalen Ramsey.
Nah, they ain't doing that.
So you think he wants the guarantee higher than what Byron got, which is $56 million?
I don't think it's about that. At this point, and I don't really want to address this too much, because I don't want to speak out of turn.
Okay.
At this point, it's bigger than money and deeper than money.
Okay.
And it's about respect. And X doesn't feel respected. And I'm not going to speak for him. Yeah. But X feels disrespected as an elite player, not just the best player on your team, but an elite player in the NFL. Now, is he the only elite player disrespected? No. Stephon Gilmore's getting disrespected by New England. And has been for a number of years. Yeah. It just happens. When you can force their hand, you force their hand. X is not in a position to force their hand because the guaranteed money isn't up. Now, and I understand both sides of this situation. The Dolphins guaranteed money isn't up. But the Dolphins, what I don't like is the Dolphins pretending like, hey, we've never made a player revisit a contract 3 years into a contract. We've never, that doesn't get done, which is the argument that they painted. And I say that's bullshit. You did it to Albert Wilson when you made him take a pay cut. It's okay when you do it the reverse way. Yeah. But when you do it the other way, yeah. All right, what are we talking? Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. So. I agree 110%. And I've said this before, they got no problem terminating contracts early, asking guys to take pay cuts, and if they don't, they terminate the contract. But when the person performs beyond the contract and they want more money, then it's whoa.
I think people know and understand where I stand in all of these matters. I'm pro player from this standpoint. Steve Ross ain't hurting for money. The organization has never asked Steve Ross to write a check that he hasn't written. And he don't ask questions. He just write the big fat check. And you can stand here and principality and, we've never done this before, and to worry about the precedents and all this other bullshit. But you know what you just done? You've just pissed off your best player. And the piss off ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
He don't like you. He don't fuck with you.
Yeah.
Like, is that a tone that you want from your best player?
Not in the slightest.
Okay, well, then fix it. And
see, I got a problem with the fans that say it's unprecedented, and here's where I come from. How is it unprecedented? All it would show you is that you're taking care of a guy who's top 3 at his position and perform like it. How many other guys? And then someone said to me, what if Andrew Van Ginkel has a huge year? I said, yeah, but Andrew Van Ginkel hasn't done it consistently. X has done it consistently when he's healthy. So it's not, you're setting the precedent of, if you're a top 3 at your position across the NFL, we will take care of you and make sure you're happy. That's not a bad precedent to set, is how I basically view it.
Listen, it's a very uncomfortable spot for everybody. To me, I side with X from this standpoint. The guy that is opposite side of me, who you give all the help to while you expose me as I cover the best wide receiver, because that's the defense. Mm-hmm. That's the defense. You force the pass into the best player by giving everybody else help and having me exposed, because I've got 10 interceptions or 9 interceptions. I forget what he's at. Yeah. And there's got to be a reason why people keep throwing my way, because I'm out here naked, butt booty naked. And people throw my way because I'm out here butt booty naked. They think that they can deliver passes on me, and then I got you. Well, if I'm X, I say, we ain't running that defense no more. And if you don't like it, then do something about it. So it's going to be ugly before it gets pretty. Trust me. You better figure out another way to play defense. Because if I'm X, I'm going to be on this left corner. Who come over here is who come over here. Y'all figure it out.
Yeah. I'm
paid like a left cornerback.
I'm not traveling with their top guy.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. So I mean,
and that's a big. You made a business decision. I'm now making a business decision.
Hey, I mean, this is kind of the storm they've created. I mean, I've said it before, he said on the man-to-man pod with Darius Butler and Antoine Bethea, he said he understood why they signed Byron as insurance in case his knee didn't hold up. But he also said, when they took Noah, he took that as kind of a slap in the face, and he wanted to go out there and make them pay with his play. And, I mean, what can you say? A lot of fans took that to heart, but I mean, you could see where he's coming from. And X is undoubtedly this team's best player in the core piece of the secondary, which by hook or by crook, that's the heart and soul of this defense. Do you think this defense could still be one of the best in the NFL if he isn't a part of it and Noah Benogany slides into that role?
Nah.
Yeah, way too lofty of an expectation for you?
X is the best cornerback when healthy. X is the best cornerback when healthy I've ever seen. And keep in mind, I've been an intern during Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain. Yep. I have a great deal of respect for Terrell Buckley, by the way, also.
Brent Grimes was amazing when he was here.
Brent is one of the best athletes ever. It was too easy for Brent. X, there's nothing like X. Like, legitimately, when X is healthy, practice, not practice, if you throw his way, there's a 50% chance he's coming down with it. And that's not like what you saw last season is the X that I've seen for quite a while. You don't get that because you haven't really seen him healthy, or haven't seen him confident in his ability or confident in his knee. And I argue to this, and I've said this, X wasn't even healthy for half of last season.
Yeah.
X was working his way back.
Yeah.
And I'm very optimistic that he will be healthy this year. I think he'll have a good season. But, you know, as I say, if he makes business decisions, I'm totally comfortable with that.
And Todd Beard says, we know the cap will explode next year. Bite the bullet and pay your only NFL blue chip player.
I mean, it is what it is, bro. I mean, I think the line is drawn in the sand, and ultimately you've just ruined a relationship. And I don't know if it's fixable. I don't even know if a check fixes it. Maybe.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm just gonna say this. You don't have to give your opinion on this at all. The stubbornness of Brian Flores that I've learned from talking to people, you know what I mean? Just it's as much as it can be a strength of him at some points, it can also be a detriment, and I think that's played into this situation. But that's a story for a different day.
I will respond to that by telling you I haven't covered a coach who isn't stubborn.
Ever. Yeah. Hey, they all believe they can develop anyone, etc. I agree. Yeah,
I've never covered a coach that isn't stubborn. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that your statement is wrong.
Yeah.
That stubbornness is not my concern. Brian Flores hasn't failed at anything he's done so far. My concerns about Brian Flores are so remote that the average Dolphin fan would tell you I'm nitpicking, but I can tell you there's something that's going to undo everybody. Something's going to undo everybody. And I could already tell you and identify what's going to undo Brian Flores. And it's his ability to relate to older veteran players. And you can't keep making your team a young team, a college team, keep bringing in young players. At some point, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a veteran player. At some point, these young offensive linemen are going to be veteran players. At some point, Jalen Phillips and Jalen Waddle are going to be veteran players. And veteran players don't put up with the same thing that young, green, inexperienced guys who you're running a college program. And that's when Brian Flores has to evolve. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that he cannot evolve or he will not evolve, because good coaches evolve. But I can tell you that that's my biggest worry and concern and fear. And, you know, but lo and behold, I've been covering Dolphins for 14 years. We reset this thing every 4 years, and I'm ready and prepared to reset it, in 2 seasons. It is what it is.
The honesty, you gotta love it. We got 600 in the room. Smash that like button. Okay, I got a couple questions for you. I appreciate you for giving me this time. Almost an hour and a half, man. It's been an awesome conversation just to talk ball with you. But a couple of final questions for you. Who do you think the most underrated? Okay, and you can't say Jesse Davis. Who do you think the most underrated player on this roster is to you?
Why are you gonna tell me if you know my answer? Why are you gonna tell me I can't say the answer?
Because I want to hear. Okay, who's the second most underrated player?
Miles Gaskin. Okay. People don't realize how productive he was. Yeah. And like I wrote a story, and people always say, "Oh, you're so negative. You're so negative. All you do is ever negative." Like I wrote a story. If Miles Gaskin didn't take an extra snap, but had just played all 16 games, not missed time because of COVID, not missed time because of knee injury, he would have been the 4th most productive offensive player in the NFL. Not, we give him more carries or more catches. No, just at the pace that he was on, like 14 touches a game, he would have been the 4th most productive offensive player in the entire NFL. Behind Stephon Diggs, behind Alvin Kamara, behind the kid from Chicago, Miles Gaskin. Mm-hmm. That's like mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm. I gotta pat myself for giving myself the old Barry Horowitz, because last offseason I said he's gonna take Kalen Balage's job and he's gonna be the feature back, and lo and behold, he went out and did what he did. Okay, who's a player on this roster you think is gonna surprise a lot of people in 2021?
Can I say Jesse Davis this time? No,
you can.
Okay, all right. Player on the roster who's gonna surprise people. I think Jerome Baker. You haven't seen the best of Jerome Baker yet. Ooh. And now that the money's already there, because I personally felt like they were holding him back because money was coming and due.
Yeah.
And he got 7 sacks without even blitzing. Like they did all kinds of exotic blitzes. Jerome was rarely ever a part of it. And I would argue to you that Jerome Baker's their best blitzer. And now that the money's already paid, I think Jerome Baker could be a double-digit blitz sack person.
That's a A1 bold sauce statement.
He's got a timing and a knack for it that I've never seen before. Now, you haven't seen it in a game, and you rarely see. You've seen it in I think it was Cincinnati. Like there's a timing to it, and when he's on, and literally he just times it just right, and he's in that backfield. And it's very disruptive, but they spend most of the time having him drop back in coverage. But I think that he can potentially be a sack leader.
All right.
I mean, he had 7 last year. Like,
yeah. I'm not the.
And most fans don't even notice that. They don't even like Jerome Baker had 7 sacks last year.
I'm not the biggest Baker fan. I don't like how he can't play in traffic and how he has a problem getting off blocks. But again, he's 24.
If I said that, Jerome would call me out for saying that and be in his feelings for saying that. And so would Landon Roberts and the linebacker unit. They hate me because I actually say what they can't do. And I agree with you.
Yeah. So, hey.
Hopefully McKinney can be that player.
I can't wait to see him this year.
I have no idea because I've seen him practice like twice.
Yeah,
no,
just great in the run game.
And I will go on the record because I'm sure some fan will dig it up. I was not a fan of him in the draft process. Okay. This is many, many years ago. I think he's not a very fluid athlete.
Here's a big question for you. With all the upgrades that we've done to the front, do you think we're going to be able to finally stop the run this year?
No.
That's not good, especially week 1.
No. I don't think their priority is to stop the run. I think they do it on the way to whatever else that they say that's their priority. It's not. They don't commit. They don't commit to it.
Then you better go back and watch that Denver game then. All right. So my final question for you. A lot of this fan base is expecting a playoff appearance this year. You've obviously already said with Tua you expect the playoffs. So
that's
you obviously
standard. I don't necessarily expect it. That's my
okay. So what are your expectations? And I got to ask you this. We know Dolphins Twitter will turn upside down and turn on Flores and Greer. What do you think happened? Because it's a very tough schedule, okay? We did not like the guys at the NFL schedule.
What makes it a tough schedule? Please tell me, because I'm not one of those people who like sits here and like dissects the schedule. Oh, it's a tough schedule.
I think the first 5 games, stopping the run is well, other than Buffalo until they show us they can run the football, is going to be like
Josh Allen can run the football.
It's going to be very, especially week 1
Josh
in New England.
Get you 60 running the football. So don't doubt that.
Yeah, I think we're going up against some top quality teams. I mean, look at Fitzpatrick came in last year and he's the reason, that throw why we beat Las Vegas. Now there's no Fitzpatrick safety net. They almost beat us last year. Tampa Bay in the first 5 games. I think the Colts are better this year.
Every single team in the NFL will be different by the time they're playing the regular season and by the time they play you. I don't get into, the schedule's tough, the schedule's this, the schedule's that. Man, please.
Okay, so let's just say this. What are your expectations for this year? And what do you forecast happening if this team goes 8, 9, 9 or 8, do you see changes coming? And I asked that because the last 2 years, in terms of financially and draft wise, we've had a plethora of capital we haven't had in quite some time.
Changes coming, define changes coming.
Do you see heads rolling?
Whose head?
Do you see? And I don't think Flores is on the. I don't think Flores is on the hot seat by any stretch of the imagination.
They have one bad season. Nobody's firing Chris Greer. Nobody's firing Brian Flores. So whose head?
So you don't see any changes coming if they fall on their ass this year?
No, they can win 3 games. Nobody's getting fired. Who like for whatever reason they win 3 games. Like one bad season is justification for people being fired.
Well, we're in a microwave league right now where
Steve Ross has never worked in that fashion. When has Steve Ross operated in a microwave fashion? Steve Ross is overly patient.
Cameron.
That wasn't him. That wasn't him.
I was just being facetious because he got 1 year.
But he should have fired Joe Philbin the year he took him into the season. The team didn't even play for him in the first month of the season. They had to fire him. Like, he's overly patient, and there's nobody's being fired. No, you gotta have some sex scandal, some traumatic Bullygate 2.0 for anybody to be fired.
So you don't see the offensive coordinators being turned over if this?
Oh, you mean the staff? Shit, Brian Flores fires people every year. Yeah, them. Yeah, Brian Flores will fire about 5 people. Put the over under on 5.
Oh man, are you worried at all about the dual offensive coordinators? Do you have any concerns?
Run game coordinator, pass game coordinator. That's how I look at it.
Same thing as
and hopefully the run game coordinator actually gives them a respectable run game.
Yeah.
And I'm a Godspeed fan from when he was a Georgia Tech quarterback following Joe Hamilton. I was a Godspeed fan as a player. So I'm good. We'll see how it plays out.
All right. Again, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you. That was an awesome conversation. Anything you want to plug? Any article you have dropping soon?
Just want to say to the hardcore Dolphin fan, and you know who you are. You're the guy who has to search and dig to get the information that you need to figure out what happened at training camp today, not the periphery or the casual fan. To the hardcore fan, I want you to know that I appreciate you. I greatly do appreciate you. I'm not for everybody. I say it all the time. I'm like a shot of Hennessy. I will get you right. I will just burn like hell going down. And thanks for support. Thanks for continuing to watch X's and Omar's. Thanks for following us on the Sun Sentinel site. And if you do have the opportunity, and I know times are hard and every newspaper or outlet is asking you to subscribe. And if you got to pick one, I just ask that it be us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And I just wanted to say to you personally too, congratulations on your daughter and the blessing of your family, man. I know you're a father before, but it's an amazing thing to be a part of. So congratulations to you from all of us over here on Phinside the NFL, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My daughter's amazing. She's great. I'm more worried about my 19-year-old son trying to figure out the world. He just got a job today at Target, and I'm super excited. And it's just, he's trying to figure out the world, and I just need all the prayers for that one.
All right, so prayers up for that.
Like they're the 19-year-old young guy who got all the answers. Dad don't know shit, and I'm trying to be patient.
Well, good luck with that, and prayers up to you on that situation. All right, guys, I'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll be taking a look at the top 5 Dolphin players I think will need to be successful for the Dolphins to be successful in 2021. And no, Jesse Davis is not on that list.
Jalen Phillips, Will Fuller, Raekwon Davis, and I'm going to go with Xavier Howard. There's your list.
You go. There's your list. All right, guys. So I'll be back tomorrow night at 8:30. I'll see all of y'all then. Until then, everyone stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. And it's Fins up all day, every day.